G'day listeners and race fans, and welcome to another episode of the Round Bar Supercars Podcast, the podcast by the punters on the hill, for the punters on the hill. I'm Bails and I've got Matty and Marshy on the line, and we'll say go to them very, very soon. You're listening in on Spotify, Podbean or Apple Podcasts, and you can search us up by on Facebook by searching the Round Bar channel. G'day Matty.
Howdy, how are we, gents?
Well, thank you. G'day Marshy.
G'day boys, it's good to be back.
Absolutely. If we're meeting, it means Supercars action is just around the corner with the Century Batteries Ipswich Super 440 upcoming this weekend. But before we do that, a few news cycles. But even before that, a big shout out to our episode sponsors, Biti Motors Pty Ltd, Cobrapparel and Membrey's Auto Electrical. All the links to those great businesses and supporters of ours can be found in the show notes. So, gentlemen, it has been gangbusters, I suppose, in the last week in particular, but really since we last raced with the Supercars. I guess moderately on the scale of things, there was an electrical drama that curtailed Team 18's Super Cheap Auto wildcard testing at the Bend, sort of immediately after Perth. We've got Deflategate with Kai Allen and the tyre pressures that I know is going to soak up some of our time here on the pod. We've got Restrictor Gate with Will Brown and Supercars and the Red Bull Ampol Racing team with the air restrictor on that car. And just to make it 3 from 3, we've got Crashgate with Scotty Pye pranging one of the Red Bull Ampol Racing Mustangs in Latvia within the last week. So I know that they're going to probably take up most of our time, but a couple others of note, mainly because of the great work that MSR did with the Aaron Seaton and the Glenn Seaton Peter Jackson throwback. One of those Falcons of the original Glenn Seaton Racing, Peter Jackson Falcons, is making an appearance at QR over the weekend. So if you're on the ground there, make sure you go and check it out. I don't think there'll be much love for it on the TV in terms of what we'll catch on the broadcast. There's been a fuel, amendment as we head forward to the Bend into the Bathurst 1000 and then into the remainder of the finals, where Supercars are going to drop the capacity of the fuel tanks from 133 litres to 127 litres, just to support some strategy in that space across the field. Just on the Enduros, just quickly, Cam Crick has been ruled out completely, so he wasn't able to get on top of those little health things battling away in the background, and Harry Jones is going to fill that seat at MSR for the Enduros. And all things going well, we'll put together an Enduro pod and cover the whole field and look at that a little bit more in depth in a few weeks' time. So look, gentlemen, I know you'll want to go back to the top. We've got Kai Allen and the tyre pressures. Let's kick off there, because I think we'll attack both of these. So what have you got for us, Marshy?
Geez. It's pretty big when you go up to the stewards say, nah, she's all good, and then everybody wants to hit back and say that's a load of rubbish, and they all fight, and which they well and truly should, because obviously rules are rules, and everyone, how do you put this? Everyone pushes the envelope, and if the envelope gets pushed too far, there has to be a consequence. So I feel as though, as much as we've been praising Grove Racing and the Penrite team and how they've been going, I feel like they've just tried to bite off a little bit more than what they should have. And obviously, because Kyle was at 23rd on the grid, let's see what we can do. And yeah, it's been sat in the shade for too long, and the pressure's gone down, and that's what's happened. So I think you just got to cop the penalty. I think that's what just has to happen.
Solid opening remarks there, Marshy. Matty, what have you got for us?
I don't have much more than Marshy, to be honest. I think that, look, I'm a believer in the rules are there for a reason, and if you're outside them, then you cop the penalty. And I think that's what's happened here. Fair enough, they should have been on top of it and managed it a bit more actively, but that's not the case. So I think he's going to have to cop it.
Couldn't agree with both of you anymore. I think the shock for most people is that they walked out of the Motorsport Australia Stewards hearing in the first place with absolutely no penalty.
Yeah.
So full disclosure in terms of some of the work done over at the Speed Cafe crew, they rattled off and sort of brought back some of the other things that have happened in that kind of technical space, some tyre pressure related and some others. And at the very minimum, teams were getting teams points taken from them. If it wasn't a DSQ, in lots of cases, we've got disqualification automatically for a technical breach. So, although they also did highlight that this particular rule comes from the sporting side of the regulations, but Marshy popped a post up on Facebook today, and that's quite a few comments on there across the multiple platforms around what people thought. The question was posed, penalty or no penalty, and it was universal that there should be a penalty applied. So at the time of recording, nothing has come through yet from in terms of across the media around the outcome of that hearing. So it may or may not before we finish recording, but if not, keep your eyes peeled, listeners, over the next day or so. Throwing it on down to Red Bull Ampol Racing. So Restrictor Gate was the next cab off the rank. So Will Brown very publicly has been struggling, I suppose, across the year, and has been, assessed on those performances and judged around that. For portions of the season, Feeney hadn't been going that well either. He's kind of turned the corner a little bit of the recent past, and Will probably hasn't stepped forward with that. He's been pretty open in terms of sort of maybe beating himself up a little bit around that, out on his own pod with Brody Kostecki. They do unpack it pretty well, and kudos to them for delving straight into it. We got a statement almost immediately once Triple Eight had found the issue with the air intake restrictor, and the next day a response from Supercars. So effectively, Triple Eight, everyone should probably know by now what happened. Triple Eight had a part that was borrowed from Supercars, not necessarily, well, it wasn't the right size. It was to be used for a fan engagement event. You would imagine being returned. Supercars haven't asked for it back or tracked that part. Triple Eight have forgotten about it. Some of their dyno testing, that part doesn't get fitted to the dyno setup, and a few other pieces around in the floating in the background, until they went to do this work last Tuesday, I'm pretty sure it was. And here we are. So it's a bit of a flip of the coin. This is what he says, this is what she says. The truth could be somewhere in the middle. And meanwhile, Will Brown, has had a car that's been less than optimal for most of the season, although I know Marshy's done some background work that he's going to tell us a little bit about in a moment, or at least put out some hypotheses. The other part to it too, and definitely something that came up through the Speed Cafe crew, was, well, his car was outside the regulations all season. Now, it wasn't a performance gain, it was clearly a performance loss, so you can imagine he's not going to get any further penalty for that. But they did ask the question of Supercars, and yet last time I heard they hadn't got a response from that. So, Triple Eight restrictor, Matty, we'll give you a crack at this one first. What's your read? What's your read of the tea leaves on this one?
I think So I think the blame sits as much with the team as it does with V8 Supercars. Look, somewhere in amongst all of this, someone has dropped the ball in terms of, we got the part, we put the part on, it did the promo, and we didn't replace it. Now, and I think kind of our friend Jamie, he's tried to kind of indicate that it was nothing to do with them. I think the reality is that blame sits somewhere in between all parties. But I guess it gives Will Brown an excuse now, because he hasn't been performing that well, maybe. But I think at the bottom of all of this, the big thing is that whoever was doing a shakedown on that car and found that issue, like we're talking like a tiny measurement here. So someone someone has found that somehow, and I don't know if they notified that they saw the part and they just knew that it was off, or if someone was measuring that much, like, on every part that was being pulled off the car. But bloody, my kind of, I don't know, my thoughts sit with them, because if I had to do that job, it'd drive me crazy. So I guess good, they found it. It made a bit of news between rounds, and I hope Will Brown comes out and smashes it now, because that'd be a bit of kind of vindication for him. But it's definitely kind of given everyone a bit of an excuse for maybe some other poor performance as well, and I'm sure we might hear from our data man after me.
I guess, Jamie took full responsibility in one sentence and then spent the rest of the...
pushing it everywhere else.
Yeah, the rest of the press release pushing it, as you say, everywhere else. There was a little bit of talk, I guess, through sort of what Will and Brody were having a yarn about in terms of the scrutineering process and how that works, and that those restrictors do get... I guess measured as a part of an ongoing and random approach to scrutineering, but typically on cars that are performing, not cars that are underperforming. So you don't necessarily get a look in at that. But somewhere along the line, as you say, a few things have led towards that. He's going to get a new chassis. He's going to get a restrictor sorted on his engine. So it really leaves no excuses now for him, and puts a fair bit of pressure on for the remainder of the season. Marshy, I mean, we've been tossing around a few hypotheticals amongst our chit-chat around this, but generally, what are your thoughts or takeaways from the cases that have been presented so far?
Righto.
Or your wonderings, maybe.
My wonderings. Righto. I'm going to do
Are you ready for this, Marshy? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Okay, right, I'm just going to do something. You ready?
So for people listening on audio, Marshy's just taken off his regular cap and placed a tinfoil hat on his head. Here we go.
Okay. I don't think there's a restrictor. I don't think there was anything. I just think this is just a big blame game. Let's just see what we can do and just cause some havoc and see what's going on. There's just conspiracies. I don't know. It's just a whole... Okay.
I expected so much from you just then, Marshy.
I know, just got this tinfoil hat. I had to ask the missus, you got any alloy foil? And she's like, yeah, what for? I started wrapping it up. She's like, oh, you're an idiot. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
I got this tinfoil hat.
You've got to take that to Bathurst.
Oh, we'll take it. There'll be conspiracies everywhere. No, I don't know. I just sort of look into it, and I love numbers and love things that happen. So he keeps saying he doesn't have pace and doesn't have speed or straight line pace, etc. So when you go back through and you go, okay, let's look at this restrictor has been on since that activation, as we would say, but then you get to pole at the Grand Prix, and it's the fastest lap that anyone has done at the GP in a supercars car. Anyone. So to be able to pull out a lap as fast as anybody else when you're meant to be at a disadvantage, it sort of doesn't add up a little bit, does it?
No, they'd had other parts in the car that were
better,
off spec the other way to balance it out.
Okay,
so.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. I like where you're coming.
Tinfoil,
I like where you're coming with this. But then in other stages as well. Okay, so he hasn't. We've all said that he needs to qualify better, and he'll probably agree with that as well. However, also too, he's qualified in fifths. He's qualified a fair few times fifth. He's also beaten Brock a couple of times, so the same car, and beaten him to qualify. He's also beaten him at the track as well. He's gaining places, and he keeps, and I know, I love Will Brown, I think he's great, he's an awesome character, etc. for that. He's also been making up places in the race.
Flat out.
For them to say that he loses 1.5 tenths per lap, and I think Brody worked it out that over the laps and over the course, you've lost 2.5 minutes over every race, if you put it that way. But I know that when we're racing, we are talking tenths of seconds, and they are important. But if you're losing that every lap, you shouldn't be really overtaking cars and getting close to podiums or overtaking better cars, if that makes sense. He does say, no, I don't have straight line speed, so he's had no speed down at Symmons Plains. He's had no speed, obviously, at Wanneroo. He's had no speed at Townsville. So I just find it a little bit different and a little bit off as to how we can be making up pace and places and still be sitting 5th in the championship when this is the issue when we qualify so badly. The other thing that's, well, he qualified badly because they kept running risks on gambles that weren't paying off for him, such as, let's just sit out this race. So, I don't know. I'm going to take this hat off because it's actually hurting my head.
You hear the
and then
crickle.
I'll come back to the normal part. So, there we go. Oh, that's a little bit better. Get on the milk anyway. So, the next thing is, I guess, I feel as though they should have just been quiet. I should have shut up. I feel like they've now put more pressure on Will Brown to actually perform because there are zero excuses for him whatsoever now. He's got now a new chassis, this new restrictor that apparently was hampering him. You know what happens when you push too hard? You actually then cause more mistakes.
You overdrive it.
You overdrive it. You cook it. So, again, I'll go back to the GP. He had Brody Kostecki right up his backside, and he was pushing hard, and when you've got Brody on your tail, okay, you make mistakes. So I feel as though he's going to come out this week, and I hope he does absolutely blitz it. I really do for him, because I feel as though he's a great character of the sport. But when you start pushing too hard, you start making more and more mistakes. And I hope that he doesn't come out there and push it too hard and end up binning it or whatever. But I just feel as though they should have shut up and just said, righto, tell Will and go, we've screwed up here, this is our issue. Because we know Red Bull and we know Triple Eight, they usually dot all the I's and cross all the T's, but this one is definitely not part of that.
It's not in their MO to miss something, a detail like that, or not keep track of it, regardless of whether you think it was Supercars' responsibility or not.
No.
But I place it with the team like you blokes do. And if we look, this track they're going to is also their test track. Mm-hmm. Between them, they won all the races there last year, Feeney with 2 and Brown with 1. Like, it couldn't be nearly any worse of a place to go to in terms of that pressure you're talking about, Marshy. So
yeah.
It's a huge watch over the weekend. And just one of the many storylines that will come through. Matty, any final remarks? I think Marshy's probably covered it pretty well, but I'm happy to throw it back to you.
Cover the craziness of it.
Between pushing too hard and being close to something else, I think I'll leave my comments where they are.
I reckon Marshy needs to get a restrictor on top of that tinfoil hat and wear it at Bathurst for sure. Keep your eyes out for him, listeners.
Well, it'll
and
be
viewers.
the same colour because theirs wasn't anodised, was it either?
Probably not.
Who knows?
Righto, team. Time to roll on into our Century Batteries Ipswich Super 440 preview, heading up to Queensland Raceway, 3.126 kilometres, affectionately known as the Paperclip. And if you've been following us on the socials, the Clippy, the very useful Paperclip's been getting a good run over the last week or so. Lap record. Interestingly enough, there was none listed according to supercars.com, just another anomaly in their website. As previously mentioned, Feeney and Brown took the wins, 2 to Feeney, 1 to Brown in 2025. Thursday, we've got Supercars Fair in the Tolmer Place and Nicholas Street Precinct there in Ipswich. Friday, proper, we get our first day at the track, and effectively mirroring our Super 440 weekend from Perth and other weekends throughout the year. We've got 2 practice sessions. They're 30 minutes a pop on Friday at 2:40 and 3:30 p.m. All the times are summarised on our Facebook page. Check your local guides for your times, depending on where you are. Heading into Saturday, we've got our 2 qualifying sessions, one for race 26 and one for race 27 at 10 o'clock and 10:50 respectively. They're 30 minutes each. Before a quick turnaround and roll on into race 26 at 12:45 p.m. and then a little bit of a gap and we get race 27 at 4:15 p.m. So a couple of races to get you through Saturday afternoon. Roll on into Sunday. 10:55 a.m. We've got a 30-minute boost mobile qualifying for race 28. That'll have a couple of parts to it. Then a top 10 shootout at 11:40 a.m. And then a little bit later in the afternoon, just after you've knocked off doing all the jobs at 3:20 p.m. We've got a 62 lap race 28, so the longer race for the weekend. Our support categories up there: the Battery World Aussie Racing Cars, the Trans Am Cup Series, Toyota Gazoo Racing Australia GR Cup, Porsche Equity 1 Carrera Cup Australia, And a couple of, I guess, other things of note. One Mr. Tony Quinn, circuit owner there at QR, is dusting a couple of his iconic machines off and going to get them out on the track. So he's got a 1995 SimTech Formula One car doing some laps, and a 1989 Porsche 962C Group C car. Both of them in absolute mint condition. So if you're heading to the track, get out there and have a look at those. There's some dirt bike action in terms of some motocross style, a Ferris wheel, the Hot Wheels stunt team, and kids zone. Righto, fellas. Matty, what are you looking forward to across the weekend, and what's your watch for this particular round?
What am I looking forward to? So obviously the young guns, still just tracking them. I won't say too much about them, but I think over this weekend we'll get to see a couple of them kind of firm up their championship hopes, so that'll be cool. Cam Waters, obviously my man. Again, it's an opportunity for him to try and string a few good races together. So I'll be watching out for him to see what he can pull out. And I know we've chipped him a couple of times this year for consistency, but he seems to be consistently doing okay.
Absolutely.
So maybe we're not seeing the Cam of the past where he'd come out and win a race and then take out 10 people in the next 3 races and not win anything. But just really kind of, I suppose, getting the car in the right spot and not pushing too hard. So maybe he's got a little something in the tank, and that'll be nice to see this weekend. The other bit is I've just really been liking watching Kostecki all season. He just his driving, it's the right level of aggression and just good, smooth, hard driving. Like it's really nice to watch. So I'm hoping I can get some good couch time and see some nice racing over the weekend.
Beautiful, thanks, Matty. Marshy, what's on your horizon for the weekend?
On my horizon, I think I'm going to enjoy the battle between Feeney and Payne, trying to get close to winning that Sprint Cup. Maybe they'll both bin each other, and Cam Waters comes through and does a Scott Bradley. Jeez, he's spastic. It's Stuart Bradley. All right,
it's not him either.
It's not even.
Get that hat back on, mate.
Yeah, jeez, it's just channeled into me, hasn't it? So anyway,
Stephen Bradbury.
There we go. Just the ice skater. Yeah, far out. We might have to go back and cut that part. But anyway, that's good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe that little battle. I know that obviously both Penrite cars didn't want anyone passing them, obviously, in Perth and running them all off the road. Again, Matty, I think Brodie Kostecki, as much as he isn't in the fight for the Sprint Cup trophy, I actually think he's been the better driver all season. He's probably been most consistent. He's had been pushed off the road by Chazzy Mostert in Christchurch. He's been pushed into the sand and hasn't finished 2 races. His pit crew have screwed him over a couple of times. So I feel like just those issues, if he can get on top of, especially the pit one, rather than just get bumped off the road, I feel like he still has a lot to give. And obviously sitting 4th in the championship as well is pretty high. So I'm looking forward to that battle with those top 4 race car drivers. The other one that I'm sort of looking forward to is to see what the outcome of is tonight or even over the next couple of days with Kai Allen, and to see exactly what happens there and how that affects him and how that affects his racing and what's he going to do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a few boys just outside or on that edge of that bubble as well for the final series. And again, as we know, yes, you could be within the top 10 now, but then you get to Enduros and you got your co-driver that could really stuff it up. So banking points now is crucial. So yeah, I think there's a few stories that I think will come out of this weekend that I'm really looking forward to. But I feel as though I reckon Matty Payne's going to be the guy who takes the steering wheel trophy. I don't know why they call it the Sprint Cup, and it's not even a cup. But anyway, we'll go back into that a little bit later. Well, I won't put my tinfoil hat back on. But
Marshy just thrown all the co-drivers under the bus. Don't worry, plenty of the primary drivers have crashed at the Bend and at Mount Panorama. Don't worry about that.
You're relying on someone else to do your job, Mitchell.
This is true.
So anyway, you better be in than out.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, mate? What are you looking forward to for the weekend?
Probably just that back end of the 10. I think I'm going to probably, hopefully, I hope they show it on the screen in terms of those battles over the weekend, and then also give us the ladder. Like, we kind of haven't given that much credit or airtime this season, but surely now's as good a time as any to roll that out. But that's only going to be as good as the whole graphics package, full stop. And that hasn't been great.
We'll win screen, you'll be there.
We've kind of let that go a little bit in the last few rounds, but it sort of went up a little bit and then has gone backwards. So let's see that. I'm just looking forward to some racing there. It turns on good racing. It's a
simpler track, but turns on good.
It's just got the right combination of fast corners, slow corners, big straights, and how that's all cobbled together. So really looking forward to just getting on the couch and watching a bit of racing there at Queensland Raceway. This segment and the larger part of our pod crew brought to you by Cobrapparel. We'll be back very soon with our next segment. Alrighty team, time to roll on into Membrey's Auto Electrical Spark It or Park It. Sparking some things that have been positive, and then we want to give a bit of airtime too, and parking things that we've sort of had it up to the back teeth with. So, pushing off the fence from the northern end will be Marshy.
Oh, okay. Righto, let's go. I'm going to go with my park it to start with, and it's around scheduling, and it's not the calendar scheduling as such. It's got to do with the race weekend scheduling. You just discussed in regards to Friday's practice is 2:40 and 3:30. So you've got 2 1.5-hour sessions with a 10-minute break, basically. I just think that's a pointless, useless thing to do. Like, what are you going to actually change within that time? Why not spread it out, put supercars a little bit earlier, have a little bit more of a break with some subcategories, and then chuck them on a bit later? I just think the way in which that's ran is not the smartest, and I feel like for other teams you could make a few more gains if you needed to for those lower teams. So that's my park it. My spark it would have to be, it came out today that Valvoline has taken the naming rights for the Gary Rogers Motorsport car, or the wild card up at Bathurst. So they are absolutely keen to have that plastered all over that car. Call it the Valvoline Race GRM car. I can't remember exactly that. And it is going to race with that number 34 on it. Yes. And do you know what? I'll tell you, if you are listening, every Supercars fan needs to get onto Gary Rogers or whoever's doing the livery and put a massive big 3-4 on that door, and you will be kicking goals all up and down Mountain Straight, Conrod Straight, across the top of the mountain. I think it will get the biggest roar no matter who you go for when you see that thing on the track. So other Supercars teams, get around the liveries, get around the big numbers, get around the nostalgia, and let's just, I love it. So that's my spark it.
Well, and just think about it, right? Like that car going around the track, like it's like if you saw any other livery from kind of yesteryear, it's what people just love, right? Jeez.
Yeah. And it just brings them back, and it might bring them back a bit more.
Yeah. So, and it gets everyone chatting about what the better times when they used to watch it back then, and what was it like? Like, it's just so good.
What was that car like, Dad? Oh, it was great, son.
I sat there all day in the rain watching that. Nearly all day.
Nearly all day. Yeah. So they're my park it and spark it.
Mate, it would have been an absolute travesty if that was not that livery with Valvoline, like full support behind them. Yeah. And I would have been surprised if they didn't, given their connection and history back there. Matty, what do you got for us, mate?
Short and sharp from me. Spark it just got mentioned before. Championship reporting on the telecast. Let's bloody get it up on the screen. And fair enough, you want to see who's winning the race, but I just want to see down the bottom who's in and who's out. And to take it one step further, it has been okay this season, but seeing the challenge packs that are not at the front of the pack, so seeing like if there's even if it's like for 19th and 20th, if it's having an impact on who's in and out and how that all works, bloody get it in there. So I want to see that this weekend. So hopefully we can get a bit of a Sparket in there, and then park it. I don't know. We've had over the last couple of rounds issues with tyres that pop back up again, fuel, and just all of these bits and pieces that take away from the spectacle that we have. Sounds like Supercars are working really hard to park it as well. So let's hope that we can kind of get rid of it, and at least for this weekend, but absolutely in time for the Enduro Cup, because you don't want to have bloody fuel issues and everyone complaining about pit stops and not having enough. So really keen to kind of get that out of the way and get some bloody good racing happening for the longer races.
That's the go, Matty. Fingers crossed. This is the last round with fuel churns, and fingers crossed that alleviates that elephant in the room. But at 14 grand a pop for that coupling set across two cars, it's not great when she's letting you down there.
No. Do you know, I hope that sorry, Matty, back to your Sparker with the graphics. Hopefully it's even to the point of if, say, Andre Heimgartner's out of the 10, if he needs to make 2 more places, it tells you needs to overtake, gain 2 spots. Do you know what I mean? It would be perfect too. So you go, oh, there's Andre, there's 2 cars in front. If he overtakes these guys, then you know where he's at, or LeBrock or whoever. I think, the graphics department need to do something sick with that. So I like that Sparket note. What about you, Mitchell?
So my Sparket, I've gone all this controversy this week or in the last 10 days. Brilliant. Love it. Keep it going. Like the chat, the headlines, the engagement from fans has been through the roof in the last 10 days. Yeah. And we need it, but we need it regularly as well.
So more tyre pressures, more restrictors.
And
stuff up apart.
Yeah, I just need things. You know, don't be too afraid to get stuck into it. So no, I'm all around that. So keep it up. And my Parket is, you may or may not have seen, gents, it's kind of on the side of the scene, but the AASA ownership debacle. So AASA, effectively another sanctioning body, licensing organisation, have had, I guess, a leadership spill and ownership drama, and it's caused a bit of chaos really for grassroots races, some national level categories as well. And ultimately, the competitor and the fans that went along and supported that are the ones that are missing out in that space. So that just needs to get a bow put on it and tied it up, and so that all parties can move forward. And this segment brought to you by Membrey's Auto Electrical, our Spark It or Park It, and we'll be back to wrap this one up pretty soon. Alrighty, team. Nearly time to hand the reins over to Marshy. I know at some point he's going to talk NASCAR, because that has happened since our last pod. But I just want to highlight something with one of the NASCAR drivers. So Kyle Larson raced at Richmond with NASCAR, got himself transported and headed for Knoxville, and promptly won the Knoxville Nationals, the most prestigious sprint car race in the world, pocketing a cool US $200,000. Started on pole, won the 50-lap race. That's his 4th time winning that race. Jeez, now, I know he's had a bit of a down year of sorts across the NASCAR IndyCar thing, but once again proven that he is definitely a demon behind the wheel on the dirt. Marshy, over to you, pal.
Righto, I'll start some international, but I'll start with in regards to, we had one of our own head over to America this week in ADP. So he headed over to do some NASCAR, not necessarily NASCAR opportunity, but just go do some work with GM, and went and watched SVG at Richmond this weekend. So be interesting to see if he's sort of gained anything from that as well, or whether or not maybe the NASCAR boys have seen a bit in Anton De Pasquale and are going to go, oh, you know what, he's got a little bit here, we might ship him over. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, good luck to Anton. Obviously, he might be a bit jet lagged when he gets home, but good on him for heading over there and seeing what he can do to improve. Obviously, at the moment, I think Clippy said that he's the one carrying. If he was trying to find another Chevy to help him, you better keep looking. So they're a bit struggling at the moment. So anyway, we'll head around the ground. So let's head into NASCAR. It's been a week, or a fortnight basically, of two mixed results. SVG at Iowa finished P30. It wasn't great. He just basically said the car was a bucket of poo and that it needed to get better. They're his words, not mine. I would have used a different word, but I think he did use a different word, but I won't use that one for the pod. And then this weekend, he finished P14. He did start at P31, and he's worked his way up. I think he got into the top 10 towards the end there, but he was able to get back on a lead lap with some good strategy and, come away with P14, which is fantastic. They'll head to New Hampshire this weekend and keep building on that oval. And hopefully you can get up there and get a win. God, these NASCAR boys and all these Indy cars change their liveries more than BJR do. So it's hard trying to keep up with which car's which that they're driving. In the Indy car, we've had Will Power. Now, he's absolutely going gangbusters at the moment over there. He started off his strong run in Portland 2 weeks ago. Started at the front, and then had another podium. So he finished P3. Scotty Mack had a bit of a difficult qualifying, but he ended up finishing P7. Scotty Dixon finished P14 in that one. He got all the way up to 8th, but he slipped back to 14. And poor old Marcus Armstrong had another cruel engine failure and DNF'd for that one. This weekend, though, they headed up to Ontario in Canada. Will Power, this was an absolute epic drive. So he started 25th and ended up at 3rd. So to gain 22 places and 2 back-to-back podiums, we like back-to-back, Matthew, don't we? But most people fail.
Back-to-back.
But most people fail in our group when they try to go back-to-back.
Still hasn't been done.
It still has not been done. Scotty Mack, obviously tight. He finished P8, and Marcus Armstrong finished P16. And Scotty Dixon P18. They're off to race around the streets, though, of Washington, D.C. this weekend. So that'll be pretty interesting. Good little backdrop, hopefully. I haven't really seen the track, but I'm hoping that it has, like, the Capitol building and a few things like that. But it looks pretty squarish compared to an oval track that they've used to be running anyway. And then, obviously, F1. They've been a bit quiet, but they are back this weekend. They're in the Netherlands, and we'll have, obviously, Oscar Piastri and Liam Lawson back in action. So that's basically it. IndyCar, Will Power's been smashing it. And then, SVG hopefully keeps going, and we've got Liam Lawson, Oscar Piastri continuing this weekend. So a huge weekend of motorsport and some late nights if you're up to it. That's it for Around the Grounds and International.
Beautiful, Marshy. Thank you. And if you can stomach it, getting up to watch the Dutch go absolutely bananas for Maxi Verstappen is well worth a bit of a look-see there at Zandvoort. But that brings to an end this particular episode of the pod. A big thanks to our episode sponsors, Biti Motors Pty Ltd, Cobrapparel, and Membrey's Auto Electrical. You're listening in on Podbean, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. All the links are in the show notes. You can search us on Facebook by searching the Round Bar channel. But for now, everybody, enjoy your racing. Cheerio.